Let's talk about death. It's pretty much the one thing every single one of us is going to experience. So you'd think our feelings about it would be, constant. But it turns out that's not the case at all. Let's get into it.
So, right off the bat, let's ask a big question. Do we think and feel about dying the same way our great 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 grandparents did 200 years ago? And the answer, maybe surprisingly, is a huge no.
And the proof for this massive shift, well, it comes from a place you might not expect: American poetry. It's like this incredible cultural time capsule, you see. It doesn't just store facts, it stores feelings. And it reveals this amazing story about how our relationship with mortality has totally transformed.
So, let's jump in our time machine and go back to the 19th century. The way poets talked about death back then might feel completely foreign to us now. They didn't see death as some terrifying enemy. They saw it as something else entirely.
I mean, just listen to this famous line from Emily Dickinson. Death isn't some horrible force. He's a gentleman caller. He's polite, he's civil, he kindly stops for her. Personifying death this way tells you everything you need to know about how they thought back then. So what these poets are showing us is a view of death as this natural, almost peaceful transition. You've got a carriage ride to eternity, a quiet return to the earth. The overriding feeling wasn't terror. It was this calm, serene acceptance that, hey, this is all part of a bigger plan.
Okay, now let's jump forward to the 20th century. Because, well, everything is about to flip on its head. That gentle guide, he's gone. And in his place is a brutal intruder.
This is a complete 180. We go from Dickinson's polite, "Oh, okay, I guess it's my time," to Edna St. Vincent Millay's defiant scream, "I am not resigned." That passive acceptance is just gone. It's been replaced with this active, furious resistance. Millay's words here are like a punch to the gut. She's saying, yeah, I know what's happening, I see it. But then she adds, I do not approve. Death is no longer a natural process to be welcomed. It's an injustice to be fought. It's something she actively disapproves of. This new reality is all about confrontation. You have poets like Robert Frost describing death not as a gentle carriage, but as a violent, snarling buzzsaw. It just says it all, doesn't it? Death is no longer natural. It's a mechanical, awful accident. And the main emotions now are anger, refusal, and just pure horror. Okay, so we've had serene acceptance and we've had brutal resistance. So where does that leave us today, here in the 21st century? Well, it looks like our poets are trying to find some kind of middle ground.
Our view today is way more nuanced. It's almost like we're trying to hold two completely opposite ideas in our heads at the same time. We accept that death is a real, inevitable part of life, but we also fight like hell against the idea that it means we're completely and finally cut off from the people we've lost. This image from the poet Billy Collins just captures that feeling perfectly. It's gentle, it's a little bit whimsical, but it's also really profound. It suggests this ongoing, watchful connection. The dead are gone, sure, but they're not totally severed from our world. We're accepting their passing, but resisting the idea that the connection is totally gone. And this brings us to the real heart of the matter. We've seen what changed in the poetry, but the bigger question is why? Why did we go from seeing death as a kindly guide to a brutal machine, and now to this really complex middle ground? Well, the answer seems to lie in two massive world-changing revolutions.
The first revolution was all about our health. I mean, our entire relationship with getting sick and dying was fundamentally transformed by science and modern medicine. Now, to really get this, there's a key term we need to know: thanatology. It's basically the study of how our social context, how we live our day-to-day lives, directly shapes how we experience death. The core idea is that the way you live actually determines the way you die. And boy, did our social context change. We went from an age of plagues and famine, where death was just an everyday thing, to an age where pandemics started to retreat because of public health. And that led us to where we are now, an age where most of us die from the diseases of old age. And to put that into perspective, get this, back in 1800, the average person could expect to live to be about 30, just 30 years old. Death wasn't some distant idea. It was a constant, familiar part of life. Flash forward to 2021, and that number has skyrocketed to 71 years.
We've more than doubled our time on this planet. For most of us, death isn't a daily reality anymore. It's this distant event we assume will happen when we're old. Okay, and here is the key psychological switch. In the 19th century, the high chance of getting a deadly disease made death feel like a necessity. It was just fate. But today, we see medical care as a necessity, which makes our chance of dying much, much lower. So when death does happen now, we don't see it as fate anymore. We see it as a medical failure.
But it wasn't just our bodies that changed, it was our minds too. The second revolution was all about belief. You could think of it as the cultural software that runs on the hardware of our physical health. It's about what we're taught and what we believe gives life and death meaning.
And this lines up perfectly with the poetry, doesn't it? That 19th century acceptance fits right in with a religious world, where death was sad, sure, but it was part of God's plan, a transition, not just a final end. But then, as secularism grew in the 20th century, that divine plan just vanished. Death became a biological endpoint, nothing more. And without a cosmic reason, dying felt so much more unjust and random, which totally explains the rage we saw in the poetry. And now, in the 21st century, we're in this post-secular phase, trying to find a middle path, right? We accept the science, but we're also searching for our own personal spiritual meaning to help us cope.
So what does all of this mean for us, right here, right now? Well, the COVID-19 pandemic basically put all of our modern beliefs about death to the ultimate test.
After decades of putting all our faith in medicine to save us, the pandemic just shook that foundation to its core. This data shows that when science couldn't give us immediate, perfect fixes, public trust just plummeted. It exposed this deep crack in our modern worldview. We expect science to conquer death, and when it can't, it leaves us feeling confused, anxious, and angry. In the end, how we write about death is really just how we write about ourselves, our biggest hopes, our deepest fears, what we truly believe about the world. It really makes you wonder, 100 years from now, when people look back at our art, our movies, our poems, what story will it tell them about us and about the anxieties of our time?